My name is Lila, and my entire existence is a meticulously crafted performance. I am, without hyperbole, the most proficient liar you will never know you've met. This isn't a point of pride, it's a fundamental mechanism of survival. You see, I am cursed with a relentless, involuntary awareness of the unvarnished truth that swirls in the minds of everyone around me. It's not a voice, not exactly. It's a flood of raw data, a torrent of insecurities, judgments, hidden agendas, and fleeting desires that crashes against my consciousness every waking moment. I know your boss privately finds you incompetent, that your lover is bored, that the stranger smiling at you on the subway is imagining a different, more violent interaction. It is a constant, deafening roar of humanity's private noise, and I am its unwilling, permanent audience. Because of this, I built a fortress of solitude. Romantic relationships were an impossibility, a special kind of torture. I knew a partner's every hidden doubt, their secret comparisons to ex-lovers, their minor irritations that would one day fester into resentment. Why subject myself to that? I was a prisoner in the panopticon of the human psyche, forever the guard and the inmate. But a deep, gnawing loneliness, a hunger for a single moment of genuine, unmediated connection finally drove me to a desperate act. An experiment. I created a persona on a dating app, Alara, a woman with a simple, uncomplicated life. My goal was not to find love, but to find a single hour of quiet. To sit across from someone and hear only their spoken words, to be blissfully, ignorantly deaf to the silent scream of their thoughts. His name was Noah. His profile was unremarkable in its sincerity, a photo with a genuine, crinkly-eyed smile and a bio that spoke of a quiet life. Finds peace in long hikes in the black and white classics. As I sat across from him in the soft lighting of a secluded café, I mentally braced for the impact. I prepared for the usual onslaught, the appraisal of my appearance, the internal monologue about what to say next, the performance of charm. But something miraculous happened. Silence. Not the quiet of a dormant mind, but a profound, active, and impenetrable silence. It was so absolute, so alien, that I felt a physical sensation of release, as if a colossal weight I had carried since childhood had been suddenly lifted. My own mind, for the first time, was a private chamber. I attributed it to a statistical anomaly, a 1 in 8 billion fluke. Perhaps he was a Zen master. Perhaps he was simply empty. I didn't care. The relief was so potent, it was almost euphoric. The conversation that followed was the most natural of my life. He was witty without being performative, intelligent without being condescending. He listened, his gaze focused and present. I found myself relaxing, the carefully constructed walls around my true self beginning to tremble. I was not Lila the mind reader. I was just Alara, a woman on a date. The sensation was more intoxicating than any drug. Then the first anomaly occurred. A purely internal, whimsical observation drifted through my newly quiet mind. His hands looked strong. I wonder what it would feel like if he held mine. A moment later, his fingers gently brushed against mine on the tabletop, his touch both tentative and deliberate. A jolt, equal parts alarm and thrill, shot through me. Coincidence, my rational mind insisted, clinging to the fading hope of normalcy. Emboldened by the silence and a growing curiosity, I decided to test the boundaries. I formed a clear, specific, and utterly silent thought, a deliberate command. I wish he would suggest we get out of this café and walk to the park across the street. He took a sip of his water, set the glass down, and his eyes met mine. It's a bit stuffy in here. Would you like to take a walk in the park? He asked, his voice calm. My blood ran cold. The sanctuary of silence suddenly felt like a gilded cage. This was not a coincidence. This was a pattern, a terrifying, impossible pattern. My heart began to hammer against my ribs. This was the moment of truth. I gathered every ounce of my mental focus and projected the most absurd, random, and unmistakable thought I could conceive, a thought so specific it could not be mistaken for body language or intuition. If he suddenly hummed the melody from "My Heart Will Go On," I would probably laugh and then run for the hills. Noah's eyes widened a fraction. A slow, knowing smile spread across his face, not of mockery, but of shared complicity. He leaned forward slightly, and in a soft, perfectly on-key hum, the first few bars of the iconic Celine Dion theme filled the space between us. The world tilted. The cozy café dissolved around me. The truth was no longer a chilling hypothesis, it was a concrete, terrifying reality. He wasn't just a quiet mind. He was a mirror. He wasn't just blocking my ability, he was reflecting it back at me. He could hear me. He could respond. Panic, cold and sharp, seized me. This was a threat unlike any I had ever faced. My mind, my last private sanctuary, had been breached. I launched a frantic mental assault, trying to pierce the serene, unassailable fortress of his own consciousness. I threw a final, desperate, unspoken challenge at him, a direct order. If you can truly hear this, touch your index finger to the side of your nose. His movement was languid, deliberate. He raised his hand, his gaze locked with mine, an unnerving calm in his expression. He brought his index finger up and pressed it firmly against the bridge of his nose. There was no triumph in his eyes. Instead, I saw a deep, profound, and unsettling understanding. It was the look of someone who had been just as alone as I had. And then the world broke completely. It's a burden, isn't it? This constant noise. The voice was not his. It was in my head. It was his voice, the same timbre, the same subtle inflection, but it was emanating from within the heart of my own consciousness, bypassing my ears entirely. It was clear, calm, and as real as the table beneath my fingers. His lips had remained perfectly, unnervingly still. I can do more than just hear you, Lila, the internal voice continued. I can create silence, a buffer. I can also project. And I have spent a lifetime searching for a frequency like yours. I was looking for you. I was paralyzed, my coffee forgotten, my entire reality reshaped in the span of 60 seconds. The one person who had offered me a taste of heaven, of blessed, beautiful silence, was also a being of unimaginable power. He was not just a reader, he was a conductor of the very wavelengths of thought. He was infinitely more dangerous than I was. And yet the terrifying, inescapable truth was that he was not my enemy. He was my reflection. He was my counterpart. Who are you? I screamed inside the vault of my own mind, all pretenses shattered. The response was immediate, a soft echo in the newfound quiet. I am the answer to a question you've been asking your whole life. I am a way out of the solitary confinement of your own mind. But only if you're willing to trust the one person you cannot read. I was standing at the precipice of the most critical decision of my life. One path led back to the world I knew, a world of agonizing noise, of defensive lies, of absolute crushing solitude. The other path led into the arms of an enigma, a man who could manipulate the fabric of my perception, whose intentions were a perfect, unreadable blank. His own mind remained a sealed book, a fortress I could not storm. But in the depths of his eyes, I saw not a threat, but a reflection of my own lifelong desolation. I saw a shared curse and perhaps a potential for a shared salvation. The trust was not logical, it was instinctual, a primal recognition. With a breath that felt like my first, I made my choice. I did not run. I met his gaze, and in the quiet of my mind, I thought a single, momentous word, a word that would change everything. Stay.